we have been featuring some incredible female business owners on the podcast in tandem with our annual Girl Gang gift guide. And today's guest is no exception. I'm joined by Olympia Thomson, founder of OM NYC, a handbag and accessories brand based in New York City, which is one of my favorite cities in the entire world. Her designs are seriously stunning, and her personality could not be sweeter. In this episode, we talk about the value of being intentional with who you partner with in your business and why being obsessed with exceptional quality and customer experience are everything. You will definitely want to listen all the way to the end to hear details about a special giveaway that Olympia is offering to our audience. And trust me, you will not want to miss this one. It's huge. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have my new friend, recent friend, Olympia, joining me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Lindsay. I'm honored to speak with you and your community of really passionate and powerful women.
Well, and that is probably a perfect place to start. You and I were connected by our dear friend, Jen Gottlieb, the super connector herself. And we connected really just as a, hey, let's get to know one another. Let's hear what you're doing, what we're doing here with Powerhouse Women, and see where there's synergy. Yeah. And it was one of those conversations. I think I'll remember that phone conversation forever. It just really was, it felt like connecting with someone who you're doing it in a different way, but there's such synergy between our missions and what we're doing in the world. So I would love for those who may not be familiar with you and your beautiful fashion brand, I would love if you share a little bit of the background story, because you did not start off deciding to be a handbag designer. That wasn't what you thought you would do with your life.
No, I scared my mother and my parents with this news one day when I came home and said, I'm going to quit my job at a bank and go design handbags.
Right. That's a normal dinner time conversation.
Completely normal. Yeah. I give them, now in hindsight, I give them a lot of credit. Now that I'm a parent, I've recently become a parent. I have a lot of appreciation for the grace with which they accepted that news.
Yes. Yeah. So take us back to maybe the precursor to that conversation. What was it that inspired you and your now husband to start this brand? How did that all begin?
Well, it really began with the conversation. We were getting to know each other as colleagues, and I guess he felt comfortable enough with me to share that he had a passion for becoming an entrepreneur one day. And where he wanted to focus those energies was to build out a company around one particular object and make it the best that it could possibly be. And in talking, we were sort of inspired toward the direction of fashion, and more specifically to handbags, something that's very high touch, something that most women carry, men carry as well in some capacity. And it's an item that is very utilitarian, but it's something that is very personal as well, right? You keep all of your kind of intimate belongings in there. And how do you take that one thing and make it something that feels like it's been built for you? The way we decided to do that was to utilize the lining of the bags, so the inside space that's really just for you, and build that out in a really luxurious way. So, for example, all of our leather bags are lined in lambskin, and it's really goes back to creating that personal connection or a personal space, somewhere where you can feel good and whole and happy.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's such a cool part of your story, that it started with this obsession, and I say that in the best way, with
Yeah.
creating something beautiful. And then it was the product, like what was going to be the physical representation of that. And if you have not, those of you listening, experienced the brand, we'll link everything at the end, but it is truly the most beautiful, inspiring collection. And I'm blessed enough to own one of your beautiful handbags. And it is, I think it's when you have that personal experience, you can tell when something was crafted in a way that is intentional. And
Well, I really
clearly done
appreciate you saying that, because it's just something that we care so much about and care for throughout the production process. And one of the ways that we do that is by really focusing on how it's made and who it's made by, and then who it's photographed by, and every step along the way, from the first stitch to what you see when you go on our website. And we've done that by cultivating this community of people that are local to us in New York City, that we work together with in order to create this product. And I really do believe that their passions are reflected, in the product as well, and that there is a difference there. It's not something that just pops off of an assembly line.
I'm so grateful that you shared this. And I don't remember if it came up in our first conversation, but I want to dive a little deeper, because this is one of the things that when people ask, what has contributed to the growth of our brand or our events, I am meticulous about anyone that I hire or have around the brand. For everyone from, and I say this like as a joke, but I'm not actually joking. I would always say, like, it matters to me the person who's taking out the trash at an event as much as it does the person who's speaking on stage, because to me they're one and the same. Anyone who is creating the experience that we are out to deliver is an extension of me. So talk a little bit about, has that always been something that has been woven into the brand from day one?
It has, but it's something that we've learned the true importance of along the way. I think in the beginning, you're unsure of who to work with. We didn't know anyone in this industry at any point along the way, from the person who was actually going to be sewing the bag to the person who was going to photograph it at the end. And we met with a lot of people, a lot of potential contractors and vendors, at different levels. And it was clear to us who we connected with and who we just didn't. But I think a lot of the times when you're starting something new and you're inexperienced, you have this desperation and you feel like, well, I mean, I'm going to have to work with this person because they seem to be the only one that can offer me what I need right now. And what we realized is it's just not the case. And our industry is so small, manufacturing of fashion apparel and accessories in New York City, it's tiny. We interviewed maybe 12 people in the beginning, workshops to work with on the production process. And that's the extent of the industry, really. We interviewed everyone. And we got to the point where we were going to test with 3 different people. And none of them were really completely right for us. They each had their strengths and weaknesses, but we just felt like that was our best option. And we just held off and we went as slowly as we possibly could. And really at the very last second, this opportunity seemed to come out of thin air. I called this guy one more time, and he ended up connecting us with the people that we would eventually work with, who absolutely checked all of our boxes and then some. I mean, they truly became like family to us. And I think waiting for the right person to collaborate with at every level was very important to our business. And it's something that I would certainly encourage other entrepreneurs to do.
Oh, I cannot love that enough. And I think the piece about not falling into the trap of thinking, well, I'm just starting out. Or maybe you are or not, no matter what stage of business, but almost feeling like, oh, well, this person is willing to work with me. Or maybe I already gave a verbal agreement I was going to work with someone and something
which we
feels
did.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's, especially as a woman, I don't want to make a blanket generalization, but I really had to learn that it was okay when it came to my business to speak up, to really put my community and my intention for the community first, and listen to that intuition, at the risk of maybe coming off as not the nice girl, or I think you can still be nice in letting people letting people down, but not being afraid to make tough decisions in the business when it wasn't aligned with who we wanted to be. So that's so inspiring to hear that you've done the same. I want to talk a little bit about, because it's funny, the timing of this. Your interview is going to come out 1 week before someone I already talked to, so we recorded them in opposite order. But the author of a book called "Winging It," and it was such a lovely conversation. And reading your story, I know, right? It's so fun because,
is that my memoir?
Well, the title, it might have been inspired by you. She didn't mention that specifically, right? But it was such a beautiful conversation and a reminder. And I want to bring you back to that moment of winging it for yourself. You left banking, and here you and your now husband didn't have experience in this industry. What were those early days like? What did winging it look like for you, or figuring it out as you went?
Well, for 6 months, I was an absolute deer in headlights. I would sit at my computer and probably just stare at it for a good long time. I had no idea where to focus my energies. There's so much, as you know, and as I think everyone listening here probably knows, is that everything is a full-time job. Every aspect of owning your own business feels like, there's the marketing, there's, it could be, you could have staff of probably hundreds of people, and it, might feel like enough. So for me to decide where to focus first was very challenging. The decision that I made was to look at the website. So where is the customer going to have their first experience? And I ended up, as you probably also are aware of, websites are quite costly these days, paying someone to build a site for you. So I had sort of the luxury of time at this stage in my life. So I was able to learn how to kind of code my dream website from scratch myself. And that kept me busy for a good long time, which was great because I needed something. I needed an area to focus on. And I would do the sort of tangential things, along the way as well, the legal and financial and marketing aspects of the business. But my main focus was where we were going to touch customers, and that was going to be through our website. So I spent about a year just learning, designing and learning, designing the bags, designing the site, and learning the business. And that, certainly gave us a nice head start, I think, once we were ready to release everything to the world.
And isn't that so true that in the beginning, there's so many components? It can be easy to feel overwhelmed and stay under the covers and just never get started. But I love the way you thought that through. Okay, where is the first touch point? Let's just start there.
Start somewhere, exactly. Start at
the
customer's beginning, really.
Right. And then as you grew and as the business launched, do you, and I know it's a husband and wife team, so you have at least one business partner, but did you start to hire? Did you start to bring on others to take some of those things off your plate that you just weren't able to do by yourself?
Not really. It's something that I'm probably still struggling with.
Yeah.
A little bit more nowadays, but I think anyone who does everything has a creative component, really. And particularly for, fashion, there's this high, the value on the creative component is very high. So it's still very much my vision, our vision. And at the end of the day, I'm, probably the one that's executing most of it. But we have been fortunate. I think we talked about this a little bit, just to build relationships with people, and along the way that we have done, work with, and who have helped tremendously. And really just consulted with, and people that I've been able to confide in and consult with as friends, at a certain level.
Yeah. And I think that is where we all start building our quote unquote team. A lot of times it's people in your industry that you can rely on for support or recommendations. It can be, freelancing. So we talk a lot on the show and in the podcast about, how do you scale? And I think it's important for people to know that there's a lot of us that still, if you looked behind the scenes, you'd maybe be surprised. It's not as big of an operation. I always say that about Powerhouse Women too. People would be shocked if they knew just really how lean it is. And that's kind of beautiful. I think I'll always want to remember these times, regardless of how big it scales, because I think it makes you it teaches you a lot about I think about Damon John, who's on Shark Tank. He wrote this book called The Power of Broke. And it's all about like how you get really scrappy when you have to, and when you're in those beginning stages. So I love that.
And that's where a lot of the, personal pride comes from, which is very important to entrepreneurship. I mean, it's something that, keeps us going, I think.
Right. So what is it like to build a business with your husband? Let's just go there.
Okay, I love it. Well, we're at a, communication, and communication style, and learning, meeting someone and deciding that you were really, before you decided you were going to get married and have a family, you decided that you were going to have a business, and that was going to be your baby. And figuring out how to communicate with each other about this factor in your lives, this really important factor, was certainly challenging at first. How to take criticism or constructive criticism from, your spouse or, any other person. That was a learning curve, understanding what he meant when he said, or I guess when he wanted to be heard. I, did in the day-to-day have more of the operational and managerial responsibilities in the company. And I think it's easy to feel like sometimes that I'm the only one that's making decisions, but I rely on him so much for his advice and his input. And I think knowing how to accept that and ask for it was really crucial to us. Yeah. And just navigating, each other's communication styles was probably the biggest challenge.
Well, and as you were sharing that, it really made me reflect on some of the entrepreneurial couples that I know, or, with my business, my husband is every bit as involved as I am, but he's not fully employed by the business, if that makes sense. And I really feel as though building businesses together it's forced us to really learn that communication that you so eloquently stated, because you don't have a choice. You can kind of brush things under the rug when maybe you're both going your own ways during the working hours, and then you come back home, but you really don't have a choice. And I think it's made us stronger for it.
Oh, but absolutely.
You have to be willing to sometimes get in there and, get messy, or sometimes apologize when you realize that there were things off. So I love that you shared that. I think that's so critical, whether you're married to your business partner or not.
Yes. Yeah,
we just both happen to be.
We happen to be. You're both so invested in it, I think. And sometimes you forget just how invested the other person is, or you need to remind yourself. And it's just something we take the time to say to each other on a regular basis, to remind each other just how much we love working as a team, how much we're both invested in this, how crucial it is to our our family and our lives, and how much we can enjoy it. I think that's a huge part of it too. Is like you just have to love this, and you don't have to love it from the beginning because it takes time. But once you start to enjoy what you're doing, it really, it feels good and it feels whole. It feels like your life.
That's beautiful. I love that. And you're right. Having someone to help you and vice versa, pause and reflect on the journey or the appreciation for what it is that you're building. That's cool. That's beautiful. So what are you, looking ahead, we're nearing the end of a year. What are you most looking forward to or most excited about as far as your brand is concerned? Can you give us any teasers of what's coming, or just what are you most looking forward to in the new year?
Well, we would like to, from a kind of product standpoint, we have some ideas for, new shapes and new designs, and we'd love to sort of survey our community to understand better what they're interested in. But we have some, like, from doing maybe another clutch to a tote. We're hoping to release that in the coming year, but just to reach the community more and at a deeper level. I think is going to be our focus for 2021. We'd set out a whole strategy for 2020 that became irrelevant because
most of us.
Yeah, like most of us. So I think it's going to be shifting that into a different space. We really wanted to connect in store with customers, but that's probably not going to happen, or the landscape of that is going to look a little different. So
right,
we're exploring ways that we can connect digitally.
Yeah. And the word we've been using in this community all year is reimagine. So we've been reimagining everything, and it's so true. And I think there will be more of that on the horizon, but the brands that are willing to step into that and make something even better out of the current situation, I think will be the ones we'll talk about for years to come. And I feel that from your brand so much. So tell everyone, first and foremost, where they can find the website, where they can find the social media accounts, and, just do some light internet stalking because it is so inspiring. It's so beautiful. And then, of course, we have a really fun announcement of something that we're going to give away. So tell us all of the details.
Well, we're on Instagram. It's super easy. We're just 5 letters, OM NYC, and our website is om-nyc.com. So give us a little shout there. We'd love to know that you've heard of us through Powerhouse Women, and to thank you for listening and to help to introduce you to our brand. We'd love to give away a $300 gift certificate to a listener here. So we're going to link to that, I think, in the show notes and all, and you can receive an email, and you'll see it on Instagram too if you follow along. Follow us, follow Lindsay and Powerhouse Women.
Which is so incredibly generous. And yes, you can use it to treat yourself. You don't have to use it to gift. But
it's a good time of year for the gifting. But yeah,
it is.
One for you, one
not
for me.
Judge. My favorite kind of gifting. It truly is.
Oh yeah.
Well, truly, I have just been so blessed by this new friendship, and would love. I'm just excited to continue supporting one another, following along. And as soon as I'm able to make it out to New York City, I cannot wait to connect in person. But
I'd rather travel to where you are, Lindsay.
Oh, that is true.
Arizona,
the next
definitely.
couple of months, you come this way. We'll work this travel schedule out. But there's one question we've been asking all year, and it's just a really beautiful. I think it's a beautiful reminder for all of us to pause and reflect on where we have been great in the midst of an incredibly challenging and uncertain year. It's a moment we like to just call your powerhouse moment, and it can be anything big or small. A moment where, when you reflect back, could be any time frame that you want, but the first thing that pops into your mind when I say, what is a powerhouse moment for you recently?
Okay. This year, we ended up doing a lot more custom work than we've ever done before. And it's something that we wanted to explore and open up the business to, creating a lot of bespoke handbags for people, and, colors and materials that they select and that we consult with them on. So for this year was really great in that regard. I think what doing the custom work taught me was that, I can deliver the customer service aspect. I can deliver beautiful product, and it can come together in that I hadn't experienced before. So we were used to just, producing inventory and releasing, our new collection, and as fashion brands do. But to create these new touch points with our customers has been a really powerful moment for us. I heard your podcast not too long ago about imposter syndrome. And I think for me, exploring this new angle sort of helped me shed some of that imposter syndrome that was still lingering, because I didn't have the experience in the industry, and coming into the industry as someone new, can I really be this designer? Can I be this entrepreneur? And that was a moment, I think, this year that proved that we can grow along this path in a new way.
That's beautiful. And it's such a great reminder that no matter how far along in the journey we are, I think all of us deal with a little bit of that imposter syndrome, but I think it makes us better. Personally.
Well, I like your angle on it. I'm totally converted to that frame of thought. Yeah.
Olympia, you are just such a joy. I truly am so grateful. I am excited to see who wins this amazing giveaway. So check out the show notes, grab the link. We'll share it on social media as well. And, look, we've still got a couple weeks left of this beautiful year. I have stood by this all year, that 2020 still can be our year, and we've still got time to make it so. So we hope this interview inspired you today. Olympia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lindsay.